Now, the Centre for Social Cohesion launched last year. It's a non-partisan think tank studying issues related to community cohesion in Britain. It claims to promote new thinking that could help bring Britain's ethnic and religious communities closer together. So what exactly has it achieved? Well, it's highlighted how British libraries encourage Islamic extremism, how Islamic extremists circumvent counter-terrorism measures by using the internet, and how 2/3 of Muslim students want to kill non-Muslims. But is this think tank really anti-Muslim? I went to their London headquarters to meet the director, Douglas Murray, an Eton and Oxford-educated, chisel-featured Anglican. That's the New York Sun's words, not mine. Hi, I've got a meeting with Douglas Murray. Thanks. Oh, hi, how you doing?
Nice to see you.
Is this like no tie Thursday?
It's always no tie day during the summer.
What do you think the role of the Centre for Social Cohesion is?
Well, like a lot of non-partisan, non-party political affiliated, think tanks, we get to do independent research. We get to try to influence government, media, and general public thinking about important issues. We can do something that government can't. We can ask questions that government can't ask.
And what do you think your achievements have been this year? What are the notable sort of landmarks, if you like?
I think the thing I'm probably most proud of so far this year is our work on domestic violence and honour violence in the UK. We brought out a report, the Crimes of the Community, Honour-Based Violence in the UK, which looked at all communities in Britain. I suppose the reason why I say I'm proud of it is not just because of the research we did and the women's refuges we were able to get round and the interviews we were able to get, but because I think since then the government has started to, and opposition parties have really started to take this seriously, and there's been some terrific feedback from government and from political parties. And I sort of feel like it was already on the agenda, but I feel proud that we've put it a bit higher up the agenda.
Some people would put you very firmly in to the right of the political spectrum. Would you agree with that?
Well, there's my personal politics, and then there's the institution's politics. My colleagues are by no means right-wingers, as you'd say. I don't particularly think of myself as a right-winger. I'm a small c conservative and a social liberal, which means that I'm probably out of favour with all political parties, but I don't personally, never have done particularly affiliated myself with any political party. And yes, people tend to think certainly if you're not a Muslim and you're interested in the issues of Islamist fundamentalism and so on, people tend to assume it's because you're coming from a right-wing perspective.
You do focus a lot on Muslims. What is it about Muslims that interests you so much?
It's fascinating. Islam as a faith is fascinating. But we don't focus on the faith aspect of it. We focus on the communities within Britain. At the moment, like it or not, Buddhists in Britain are not getting all that much attention on them because no Buddhist has done anything particularly remarkable in terms of a violent act in recent years. Now, I and certainly no one here would ever say that Muslims as a whole should be held responsible for that, and I think that we and other people who do similar work try very hard to make sure that the Muslim community, as it were, or Muslim communities, are not labelled because of the actions of a few terrible and bad individuals.
You seem incredibly reasonable. Why do you think the Centre for Social Cohesion winds people up?
I wasn't aware it did, I have to say. I know it winds up certain writers in The Guardian who take pod shots at us and at me on occasion, but I rejoice in The Guardian's ability to wind me up. So
That's what we're good at.
A lot of people with Islam have been confused. They think because obviously in Britain most people who are Muslim come from a non-white ethnic background, that therefore anyone who's interested in the area of Islamic fundamentalism or of general Muslim attitudes in Britain is beating up on people with darker skin. That is a very prominent left-wing sort of white perspective about this. I think it's starting to get cleared up, but there is still an overlap about it, and you see it in the use of terms like Islamophobic and so on, an attempt to elide always unforgivable criticism of people because of the colour of their skin with criticism of beliefs. And as I say, although criticism of beliefs should always stop short of any form of kind of incitement or anything like that. Nevertheless, it is one of the most important things in a free society that we can debate ideas, do so openly, do so freely. Free inquiry is one of the things I rejoice in most.
Now, you're one organisation looking at Muslims and looking at Islam in Britain, and of course there are lots of other bodies who do exactly the same, but from a Muslim perspective. So if you don't mind, we're just going to play a word association game, where I give you the name of an organisation, and you just have to, tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Words do I get?
If you really want to keep it concise, we're going to call this game Hate Them or Rate Them. So Muslim Council of Britain.
Presumptuous.
Quilliam Foundation.
Admirable.
The Islamic Society of Britain.
Dubious.
The Muslim Public Affairs Committee.
Repugnant.
Radical Middle Way.
Questionable. And overfunded.
The Muslim Association of Britain.
Repellent.
British Muslims for Secular Democracy.
Not very active so far.
City Circle.
Interesting.
Islamic Sharia Council.
Awful.
Hizb ut-Tahrir.
Where do I even begin? Do you really want to give me only one or two words for Hizb ut-Tahrir? Well, I have to say, not a busted flash anymore, sadly. I wish I could just say busted flash.
Douglas Murray, thank you very much. Sonny, you were making so many facial expressions during that interview. What comes to mind when you hear a very reasonable-sounding Douglas Murray,
Well, Douglas Murray
He says
is
he's not a
reasonable-sounding.
neoconservative. He wrote a book called Neoconservatism, Why We Need It.
Yeah, I mean, I find that really funny how he doesn't want to be associated with the right. But he should be part of it, If he wants to be right-wing, then that's his. And he is pretty much right-wing. I mean, Civitas, which Centre for Social Cohesion is part of, is a right-wing think tank. They went on this big thing about left-wing political correctness. Anthony Brown was their guy who ran it, and he's pretty right-wing. And there was just one other point which I found really curious. I mean, he said, that their report on honor-based killings was, groundbreaking and stuff. I mean, it was a good report, went through it. I'm not going to deny that. But I think, actually, there's been a whole load of other information being put out by Asian women groups themselves about this problem. There's a lot of people who've talked about it, including myself, loads of times. So actually, these guys are jumping on a bandwagon which has been there for a while.
Now, think tanks seem particularly concerned with Muslims. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues that have come up in recent years. For example, British identity, British culture, where we go from here, politics in terms of how Muslim radicals as well as ordinary Muslims, how do they relate to the political system, talking about counter-terrorism, talking about dealing with sort of radicalism within our communities, within Muslim communities, as well as BNP backlash and all the rest of it. So there's a whole lot of issues that have come out which various organisations have looked at. The Fabian Society have looked at Britishness. Demos have looked at how we can engage with radical Muslims, and the Centre for Social Cohesion. These guys focus specifically on how bad are these Muslims.
Now, we did play Hate Them or Rate Them with Douglas, and I did like that game, so if it's all right, I'd like to play with you too.
I'll try my best
One
to keep it
word.
to one word.
One word, okay. Demos.
Good.
The Fabian Society.
Needs to be one word.
Okay, policy.
Socialists.
Socialists, all right. Policy Exchange.
Annoying.
The Centre for Social Cohesion.
Disingenuous.
Oh, Fawcett Society.
Admirable.
Which think tanks do you think are really doing a good job? Not necessarily with Muslims, but looking at this whole idea of Britishness and belonging and, cohesion.
There isn't that much going on. It's really bad. I think actually if you read thinking online in terms of blogs and articles on Comment is Free, they're much more interesting. I'm not sure that the think tanks have really engaged with a lot of stuff that's going on out there.